Hi everyone, it's Lindsay and I am back today with some more Bible journaling, this time in Acts 27. Now I'm going to be using the Anchor of Hope stamp set from Joy Claire Stamps. This is from their Bible journaling line. It's the Color by Faith series. And it is a really great stamp set for so many journaling pages that you might want to do in your Bible. But I am using it in Acts chapter 27 today. The entire chapter is about Paul going to Rome, traveling there by ship, and his journey and the hardships he went through. So I am taking that story and that is what I am journaling. So I went ahead and read those scriptures and now I'm journaling about what I kind of learned from that. So the first thing I did was I took a medium-sized wave, and I'm using a black waterproof dye ink because I will be watercoloring, and I just stamped that wave across the entire page on the right-hand side. So I'm connecting each one of those waves to make a continuous wave. Then I took the larger wave and again just continued that wave across the entire entire journaling page, right on top of that medium-sized wave. Then I am taking a smaller wave, it's just kind of a wavy line, connecting that, and I am going to stamp it below that medium waved line. So I'm creating like 3 different sizes of waves here. So now I'm moving on to stamping the anchors. So in these verses that I was reading, it talks about the 4 anchors that they attached to the boat, and then they cut all 4 of them off. So I am stamping out 4 different anchors to create kind of an underwater scene here. And I didn't think about this until now, but this is such a long chapter, and there was enough space for me if I wanted to. I could have made this a 2-page spread, and that would have been beautiful. So if you wanted to spread your scene out a little bit more, you could always turn this into a 2-page spread very easily. So in between each of those anchors, I added some of the plants that are included in the set. And then I also added some bubbles around different elements that I had stamped also, just for a little bit more interest and a little bit more of a realistic, if you will, look. Then with my micron pen, I came in and drew a sand line, I guess in this case, where that was my sand that was at the bottom of the ocean. And then on each one of the little anchors and also the plants, I drew little lines to represent the hills of sand it would create if something was sitting in the sand. So I came in with my micron pen and drew each one of those little lines in on each one of the anchors and also plants that I had stamped in the scene. Now I will come back later and darken those up and also add some more final detail touch-ups with my micron pen, but for now I'm just drawing in those. Now for my coloring, I am going to use my Sakura Koi watercolor. This is the sketch box. Now I started out with a mid-tone blue here, and then as I move up, I'm actually going to darken up my waves. So I'm creating sort of an ombre look here. And then once I get up to the very top, I'm actually going to come in with almost white with just a tint of blue to it to create a seafoam look on that. Now as I move down, I'm going to go lighter with my blues, which you'll see later on, but I first wanted to get all of my elements that were underwater colored in. So I'm starting off with my little plants. I guess they're sea kelp. Is that what they're called? I think so, but I'm coloring them in green, and then each of my little rocks will be colored in with some browns. Now for my sand, I am actually mixing up some yellowish, sort of red brick brown almost, and I am going to go ahead and color in all of my little sand. Now when working in larger areas like this, I'm working on untreated Bible pages. I did not apply any gesso, prepare them in any way. It's the way I like to work. If you want a gesso, by all means, you can. However, I like to work on bare pages. So I need to work quickly, and I need to work with as little water as possible, and I need to work in sections. And this allows me to just really be able to control the amount of water I put on, really blend out my colors very well, and add more depth in different layers. Because I don't have any sort of gesso down, I can't use a lot of water. So I am just going to continue working in sections here. I'll come back in and add a little bit of darkness and a little bit of depth in different places where the shadows would be the darkest. And working in sections like this also allows me to blend out my colors if I ever run out of any that I've mixed up. So all of my colors are going to match this way. You can see I'm also adding darker shading around the anchors, around the little lines that I've drawn, and also around the top line that I've drawn. And that's just because that's where the shading would be the darkest. So I'm finishing up on this last little section here. And once I have that finished, I'm actually going to move on to my anchors. Actually, before I move on to the anchors, I'm actually going to do the water area around all the anchors before I do them. So that is going to be my lightest shade of blue. So you can see I'm adding more water to the blue already on my palette, and also a little bit of white. Now normally if you would look in an ocean, obviously the darkest colors would be at the bottom. However, I'm working opposite here because I can. So I'm adding my lightest shade of blue here all around my different plants and my anchors as well. So I'm just going to continue blending that out, again working in sections and adding very little water because my page, as you can see, they're already starting to crinkle up a little bit. And then I'll just hold this overnight with another book on top of it to really flatten out this page again. Now in the little dots I added some very dark blue, so very little water, very concentrated color on them to help them stand out. And then on my anchors I'm just adding some gray. I don't need any shading on these, they're very thin and they already have a lot of lineage which adds shading to them already, so I don't need to do anything more than color them gray. Now above the water I'm actually going to add a very, very light wash of blue, and this is going to end up being my sky. I could have left this white, however, I just wanted to add the color in. I've never colored in a whole page with watercolor in my Bible, so I thought I would just go for it and do a whole page spread here. So I just quickly filled that in, and then I came back in with my micron pen after everything had dried, excuse me, not dyed. Everything had dried, and I added little dots all around where the sand is, and that just adds a little bit of texture. Now I also came in with my white gel pen and added little accents here and there. So on the bubbles I'm adding little accents on them to make them appear more rounded, and then I'll also do them on the waves. Each one of the waves I'll do them on. So I'll continue doing that, and each one of the little waves I've got my medium or my largest wave here that I'm adding the most embellishment to. And then I'll also do it on the little foam caps that I made here. It really doesn't show up very well, but I did go ahead and try it at least, and if you look close enough you can see the detail. Then I will also do it on the medium wave. On each one I'll add a single line here very quickly, and then on the smallest wave I'll just do bits and pieces here and there. I won't fill in completely. Just because it is getting so light in color, it really doesn't show up very well at all. Now at this point I didn't feel as if my micron pen lines that I had made to put in my sand were quite dark enough, so I came in with a larger tip. This is a 0.5. I had used a 0.3 earlier, so I'm using a 0.5 now, and I'm just going to draw in those lines. And I'm really going to darken those up so they stand out just a little bit better. And I'll do that one solid line across the top, and then I'll also come back in around each one of my plants and my anchors and really darken up those lines as well. But once I had that completely done, that finished off my page. Or actually, I did take that same micron pen and darken up this sentiment on top as well, because that blue wash had kind of taken it down a notch to a more gray color. I wanted to make it more black, so I did go over that sentiment, and that finished off my page. I hope you guys enjoyed this video tutorial, and as always, I leave you with a few pictures. For more information and the supply list, you can head to my blog. That link will be in the description box below. Thank you guys so much for watching today, and happy crafting. For more information and the supply list, you can head to my blog.